Hi guys, my name is Trinity, and if you're here, you must be here to talk about books because that's why I'm here, to talk about some books. Today, I am going to be doing my mid-year check-in for the PopSugar Reading Challenge. Now, the PopSugar Reading Challenge is a challenge that I do every year to get myself reading books outside my comfort zone, reading books that I normally wouldn't pick up, and picking up new authors that haven't quite hit my radar yet, or for this particular year, books that have been on my TBR for way too long. Now in the description down below, I will link the original video where all of these books can be found, me talking about them. And I will link my quarterly update as well so you guys can see the progress that I've made. In this particular video, I'm going to run through all of the books very quickly. And you guys will have seen the wrap-ups of these already, but I just want to let you guys know where I stand with the challenge. So the first book was a book published in 2021, and I read Hall of Smoke by H.M. Long. I loved it. Probably one of my favorite Norse reads that I have read recently. An Afrofuturist book, I read Binti by Nnedi Okorafor. I liked the first story. I still haven't continued with the rest of the stories. And the first story was what was on the challenge, but I do plan to continue. I do have the bind up of all of them. For Heart, Diamond, Club, or Spade on the cover, I originally had Ace of Shades. I DNF'd that and read Heartless by Marissa Meyer. It is a retelling of Alice in Wonderland told from the Queen's perspective, and I always love stories told from the villain's POV, so I really liked that one. Author who shares a zodiac sign. I plan to read Fools and Mortals by Bernard Cornwell, but I haven't read that one yet. Dark Academia. I read A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. I did like that. I thought it was problematic, but I did end up enjoying it. Gem, Mineral, or Rock in the title. I read Gods of Jade and Shadow by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. I didn't really like that one that much. I'm actually on the fence about Sylvia Moreno Garcia because I really love Mexican Gothic, but most of the books that I have read from her since then haven't been to my taste, so I don't know. I might end up reading more, I might not. Book with a main character that works at your current dream job. As I stated in the first video, I couldn't think of a dream job because I want to be a literary agent other than Bookseller. So Left-Handed Booksellers of London by Garth Nix is the book that I put here. Haven't read that yet, but it is on hold at the library right now. I'm waiting for it. A book that has been nominated for the Women's Prize for Fiction. I read 1,000 Ships by Natalie Haynes. I really liked that one. I didn't think it was as good as Circe, but I still thought it was pretty good. Book with a Family Tree. I had originally chosen A Spool of Blue Thread. I did say that this might come off the TBR, and guys, I'm a little burnt out on the whole character-driven novels, family dynamic being at the forefront, and I don't know if this is going to stay, but I can't think of a book with a family tree in it other than Harry Potter. So I might do a reread of Harry Potter. I don't know. A bestseller from the 90s. I will be reading The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I haven't read it yet, and I'm going to be putting it on hold at the library very soon. A book about forgetting. I read Recursion by Blake Crouch. The first 2/3 of that book, 5 stars. The ending I couldn't stand. So I ended up at a 3.5. A book seen on a friend's shelf. As you guys know, I read Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas, and it was not my favorite. I gave it 3 stars. I might give Sarah J. Maas another chance. I don't know. A Locked Room Mystery. So I read The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. Yes. And I really, really enjoyed that one. It is one of the only mysteries recently that I have thoroughly enjoyed, but I loved the way it was set up. I loved the magical sci-fi-ish elements that it had, and that was what kept me going with that book. Adored it. A book set in a restaurant I read With the Fire on High. It Was Okay by Elizabeth Acevedo, and it's just not my taste. I'm not a big fan of contemporaries, as I said before, so it was okay. A book with a black and white cover, I read Shadow and Bone, which I really enjoyed. However, I did read Siege and Storm very recently. Wasn't to my taste, but I did like Shadow and Bone. A book by an Indigenous author, I chose Winter Counts. I haven't gotten around to that yet. I'm going to be putting that on hold at the library very soon. Same title as a song, Heart-Shaped Box. I just need to get around to reading that one. A book about one of my passions. So my passion is books, obviously, or I wouldn't be a booktuber. And I chose The Bookwoman of Troublesome Creek. I really didn't like it. I found it to be really, really boring. So I am replacing that with The Lost Queen and changing out one of my passions for Camelot retellings, because that is a passion of mine. So I will be reading The Lost Queen by Sydney Pike very soon. Body Positivity, One to Watch, is the book that I chose. I am still planning on reading that one. Even though I'm not a big fan of contemporaries, I do think that that probably is going to stay, because I haven't been able to find a book about body positivity that's not a contemporary or, you know, a substitute for this one, because I have heard that One to Watch is problematic. A book on a BLM reading list, I chose Hidden Figures. I recently started that and I DNF'd it. I didn't realize it was a nonfiction telling of this story. I thought we were going to be reading a fictionalized version of these events, and it read like a history book, so I had a really, really hard time getting into it. I am going to be choosing another book. I'm just not sure what yet. A genre hybrid. I chose Eden by Tim Levin. I really adored that book. I thought it was great. I have since unhauled it, but not because I didn't like it, but because I probably won't read it again. A book set mostly outdoors, I chose The Song of Achilles, and I'm very excited to read it. It is on hold at the library currently. Something Broken on the Cover, I am going to be reading Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. A book by a Muslim American author, I chose The City of Brass. I did start this book, but I didn't finish it because I tried reading it during a readathon, and it moved a little too slow, so I couldn't keep my readathon pace going. And so I set it aside to pick up sometime soon. A book by an anonymous author. I did choose The Epic of Gilgamesh. I did find out that I could get an audio for free from Audible. So I will do that eventually at some point. A book with an oxymoron in the title. I chose These Violent Delights. I loved that book. I love me, Romeo and Juliet retelling, and I really liked the horror aspects of this novel a lot. Do-Overs, Fresh Starts. I had originally put The Four Winds on here, and I did read The Four Winds, but I changed it out for The Bone Maker by Sarah Beth Durst. I loved that book. I love Sarah Beth Durst. I think that Sarah Beth Durst is going to become an auto-buy author for me. Magical realism. I had originally had A Song Below Water. The book was not what I was anticipating. And so I had been going through a very rough time, and this book was rough. So I changed it out for Magic Lessons by Alice Hoffman, and I did enjoy Magic Lessons by Alice Hoffman. A book set in multiple countries, The Queen's Gambit. I do have that on Audible ready to go. Somewhere I would like to visit, Greece. I chose Circe. I loved that book. Circe is probably one of my favorite Greek retellings in a while. Book by a YouTuber. I originally had Elliot Brooks's book. Can't remember the name of it here. But I ended up reading Axiom's End by Lindsay Ellis, so I just swapped it out because I haven't been able to get a hold of Peace and Turmoil. That was Elliot Brooks's book. But I did end up reading Axiom's End, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It has one of my new favorite tropes. A book starting with Q, X, or Y. I always exclude the in any book's title when I'm talking about what it starts with, because the and a they don't exist to me when I start talking about book titles. And so I actually had The Yard here, but I have not been liking detective novels lately, so I swapped that out for The Queen of Blood by Sarah Beth Durst. A book featuring 3 generations, The Great Alone by KRISTIN Hannah. I have not read that yet. A book with social justice issues at the forefront. I chose The Handmaid's Tale, and I haven't got to that yet. A book in a different format than what you normally read. Winter's Orbit. I actually read an ebook. I love these characters so much. The 2 main characters are such cinnamon rolls, and I love their relationship. I love the way that it evolves over the course of the book. It is sci-fi. The sci-fi elements in it aren't great. You read it for the romance. A book with less than 1,000 reviews. I chose The Last Watch by J.S. Dews. I just finished that book, and you can see my last wrap-up, and I will tag or link it down below. A book that my best friend would like. I originally had Gideon the Ninth here. I do still plan to read Gideon the Ninth, but I don't know when I'm going to get around to it. But she loves Kristoff. I love Kristoff. I read Dark Dawn by J. Kristoff. A book about an artist, Roses and Rot by Kat Howard. I haven't got around to reading it quite yet. A book that everyone has read but me, The Lies of Locke Lamora. I loved that book. A book with a past PopSugar challenge. So I chose Plant on the cover and A Universe of Wishes, which is a book of short stories written by diverse women in fiction. The longest book on my TBR I will have to change because it is Rhythm of War, and I DNF'd The Way of Kings, and I don't plan on reading the Stormlight Archive. So I'll have to pick a different book. The shortest book on my TBR, The Test by Sylvain Neuvel, that is a trip. I did enjoy it, but that story is a trip. The prettiest cover that I own. I did have the 10,000 Doors of January here, but I have heard the writing is very similar to Erin Morgenstern, and I don't like Erin Morgenstern. I'm not a huge fan of character-driven books, so I swapped that out for All the Tides of Fate, which I have read by Adeline Grace, and it's a young adult series that I enjoy. The ugliest cover, I had to pick Theft of Swords because I don't really own ugly books. I have a bad habit of buying pretty books, but I did go with Theft of Swords, which I will be reading very soon. A book that has been on my TBR for the longest amount of time, that would be Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I have it. It's sitting right over here. You guys can't see it. But I haven't been eager to pick it up because a lot of the people that I know don't like it. A book I meant to read in 2020, that was No Fat Gloss by Essa Hansen. And if you guys have seen my favorite sci-fi videos, or my favorite sci-fi reads video, it's in there. A book I associate with my favorite person. I chose spoiler alert because I chose my fandom Discord for this, and this is about fan fiction, a fan fiction author, and I am a fan fiction author, and so are the people on my Discord, and so I loved it. It was so good, so good. Random choice. I chose The Bone Houses because I have that on Audible. It was free to listen. I still haven't listened to it yet. Former DNF and current DNF, The Way of Kings. So I don't know what I'm going to put here because when I DNF a book, it usually stays DNF'd. I might have to swap out book I DNF'd, City of Brass, put it here, and book by a Muslim author because I read Sky Beyond the Storm this year. So I might put that in the Muslim author and then move former DNF, City of Brass, to this slot. A book that was gifted to me, or a free book, and I read Sorcery of Thorns. I thought it was cute. I loved it. There are a lot of people, it's pretty divisive, like if you like it or if you don't, but I enjoyed it. So that means that I have read 28 of the 50 books that I need to read for this challenge. I feel like I'm going strong and I should be able to finish this out by the end of the year. That's it for me today. Like, subscribe, do all the fun things, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!